All right, welcome back to the Xano521 podcast. My name is Mitch McKinney, here with our owner, Mr. Jay Bryant. Jay, good to have you back. At Xano521, we transform the spaces where you live, work, and play. We serve all of Central Florida, from Orlando all the way up to St. Augustine. We're grateful for you for tuning in with us today. Before we jump in today's topic and today's episode, we would just ask that you please just take a second to like and subscribe to this channel on YouTube or on whichever platform you're tuning in with. It would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much in advance for your support. All right, Jay, the conversation about all things concrete coatings continues. Who knew there was so much to talk about when it comes to concrete coatings?
Who knew that I'd be here still after all these episodes, Mitch? I'm actually getting comfortable. Is that getting scary that I'm actually getting comfortable doing this?
No, I mean, there's so much to talk about, which, you know, I didn't know that before I got into it. But there's so much to talk about, which is why this podcast exists. We're trying to educate and inform our customers as much as possible, because taking on a project like this is quite an investment. So we want to make sure that our customers have the information they need to make the best decision for their project. So, so far we've talked a lot about so many different things. If you missed any of those episodes, you can always go back and listen to them. I would encourage you, if you're going to be doing a project, to make sure you go back and listen to them. Today, though, I want us to talk about post-installation. So I've had a company, I've hired them, they've come out, they've installed the process. I want to talk about durability, and I want to talk about maintenance, questions we get asked a ton about. So how durable is a concrete coating system? And then if there are, if I spill stuff on it, or is there a way for me to break it? You know, like those kinds of questions. So let's start with durability. How durable is a concrete coating system?
Well, that depends on which one you choose.
Okay,
that's a good really does. So let's just make the assumption that everybody made the choice to go with a good solid polyurea system using a polyaspartic top coat. Those systems are extremely durable, Mitch. They are chemical resistant to a certain degree, obviously, but very, very chemical resistant. They can withstand, you know, banging around different things. Now, obviously, you drop a heavy tool from up high and it hits it, it's probably going to break the concrete underneath. So, you know, it's not going to stop that from happening. But yeah, so it's very strong, very durable. With a good system, we don't have to worry about hot tire pulls. Car comes in, hot tires, sets, it cools off. It's not, and it'll bond to the surface. But when you back out, it shouldn't rip that up. That's going to stick. That's going to stay. The biggest issues that you can get with a polyaspartic top coat, which, as you know, is 100% non-porous, right? There's no pores. Things shouldn't soak into it. Matter of fact, water beads on it. It stays on top of it. But acid is the biggest nemesis to any system. While you have some acidity, you know, prevention in the system, if you leave something like brake fluid on it for a long time, not wipe it now. If you spill it, it's okay. But you need to get it up within a reasonable amount of time. If it sits there overnight, you're probably going to come out and have what we call an etched area or a dull spot where it's kind of eaten through that top coat.
But that's going to be the case regardless of what
anything that you use.
You put brake fluid on it, it's going to do anything.
If you go with a urethane system, a second top coat or something like that, you get a lot more longevity and chemical resistance for that. But that's not your typical residential installation product.
So the system that we use, the polyurea system, you've got a base coat, just polyurea, then you've got the chips or the flakes, and then the top coat, which you said is polyaspartic.
Polyaspartic.
Okay, and you said so that top coat is non-porous, which means nothing will get through it, right?
You're not going to have mold growing down in it like you did with your concrete. You know, that mold and stuff is not in there growing and festering and having to go out and pressure wash it and all that all the time.
Okay, so that's definitely what you want on the top then.
Yes.
That non-porous. Okay, so if that type of system, I mean, it's super durable. It's going to last forever, almost. Well,
nothing's forever, but yes, it's going to last a long time. It should last. Like I said, we put it in our floors. It's lasted for years. We've had customers even before we started doing this that have had this system, and it's been years and years and years, and not a normal use. It still looks brand new. And especially those guys up north where they drive with salt all over their vehicles, and a lot of our viewers are probably from the north, where you know the roads, when they salt them and the ice and snow comes, that's going to the garage. If you've ever seen what salt will do to concrete, it just eats it away. but our system actually holds up to that for years and years and years.
Okay, let me throw some hypotheticals at you. So you talked about dropping something on it, right? So if I'm working out in the garage and I drop a hammer on it, is that going to damage the...
Probably not. We've actually taken hammers and thrown up in the air and come down, but you know, we warn customers if that concrete is soft under there and it chips the concrete, then your coating's going to come up with it.
So in that situation, it wouldn't be a coatings issue, it'd be the concrete underneath.
The concrete underneath
So if the concrete fails, regardless...
Now, you remember the customer who had his trailer hitch and he left the lift down on his hitch.
That.
You don't remember that?
No.
No. So we had a customer in his driveway. He did his driveway. It was beautiful. And he went to pull his boat out, and he left the hitch down.
Right.
And as he went down the driveway, it gouged it. Of course, it's going to gouge it. I mean, you know, something like that, obviously, it's not indestructible, but it's extremely durable for normal use.
So a gouge, but like, what about like scratches? Like, can you scratch it?
It's pretty hard to scratch. You know, when we did, the first job we ever did was my house, my garage.
Guinea pig.
I was the guinea pig, yeah. And we actually did my garage because I wanted to set it up as 2 jobs. Like you come in, we set up. So we moved everything to one half of the garage. Now we don't typically do this for a customer, but we moved everything to one side and we coated the other side. The next morning I wake up and I have this great big huge, like over 1,000-pound gun safe that's still sitting on the 4x4s that it was shipped in because it's sitting in the garage. I didn't want the metal on the floor, so I just left it on that. And so we had shifted that over to the unfinished side, coated the next morning. Now we tell people wait 24 hours before you roll anything or try to slide anything on this. Let it fully cure.
Okay.
I was a little anxious, Mitch.
So do as I say, not do as I do?
Exactly. So we get out there and we're going to push the safe back over so we can coat the other side. I'm like, hey, if it scratches, I get some practice trying to fix the scratches, right? So when we started pushing the safe, I mean, literally we had pennies and springs and all that was stuck on the bottom of those 4x4s. And we shoved it across the floor all the way to the wall. And I look back and I see this big just mess of stuff that we left behind. I was like, oh.
Oh no, you're going to get some
cleaned it
practice.
right off and there wasn't a scratch one in it.
Okay.
So scratching, yes, you can scratch it, but it's going to take a lot. It's hard. It gets really hard at the surface and it's really durable.
And again, everything we're talking about here is the polyurea system. We're not talking about stains or sealers or epoxies or paints. That's not going to be as durable, right?
Not as durable. No, certainly paints are not going to be durable. You're going to scratch that very easy. It's very thin mill. It doesn't have quite the root system and the bond. When you start getting to durability, the more layers, the thicker the layer it is that bonds together and into the system, into the floor, then you have your strength. That's why we talk about the shop flooring system. We mentioned that previously. That's even more durable, and that's why we apply those into industrial areas.
In previous episodes, make sure you go back and where we talk about the pull test of how we determine how strong it is, because that bond to the concrete is going to really determine the durability of it.
Hey, you know, we have another video on our website. It's from our manufacturer where we take a piece of polyurea that's fully cured and a piece of epoxy that's fully cured.
Right.
We do the hammer test.
Right, the hammer test. That's a good one.
It's a really good video. So you take polyurea or you take epoxy and you hit it with the hammer one time and it just shatters because it gets hard. And then he takes the polyurea square that's, you know, it's about that thick, and he's going to smash it with a hammer, but he stops and he walks outside and he grabs a sledgehammer on concrete and he beats the snot out of this piece and it doesn't break. That's the flexibility that we have with polyurea, and that's why we like the durability of it so much.
That's definitely good information because, again, this is an investment and we want to make it one time. We don't want to make it multiple times. So,
it's too costly.
I mean, you think about like the headache. You got to move everything out or move all your furniture, clear the area, get the system put down, and then you pick the wrong one that's not going to last, and then you got to grind it off, start all over again, and do it again. So, okay, so I think that's good on durability. Let's talk about maintenance. So I've got it in, it looks beautiful. Do I have to do anything to it to keep it beautiful, or will it just magically stay beautiful forever?
These magical Xano521 gnomes are going to come out at night and just keep that thing perfectly clean for you. No, listen, you know, your floor is a horizontal surface, so I call it life. Life gets on that floor, life's going to get on it. Dirt's going to run off of you know, your embankment onto your driveway or through your screen enclosure to your pool deck, and that dirt's going to build up. It's going to get mold in it on top. But the great thing is that's all sitting on the top of your surface.
Yeah.
So really, you can hose most of it off. If you get a little stubborn, we just recommend some simple household cleaner, nothing acidic, but you can use pretty much anything off the shelf that you would use on your interior floors. take it out there and put on there, maybe a stiff bristle brush, all that mold will come right off.
I know I've had customers ask me, can I pressure wash it? And I always say, well, you can.
Why would you?
But
you don't need to.
You really shouldn't need to, because whatever's on top of it is really just sitting on top of it. So to your point, if you put some household cleaner, typically, as long as it hadn't sat there very long, it'll come right off with a brush or a hose, right?
If you do pressure wash it, the really important thing with pressure washing is you're going to want to use a wide tip. You don't want to get you don't want a sharp tip, because obviously those things, if you have a really strong pressure washer, I mean, it'll blast through your concrete. So use a nice fan on your pressure washer, and it's not going to hurt it at all.
In terms of staining it, because I know, like, you think about a garage, you think about a driveway. What about like gas, grease, oil? Will those things stain it?
Not at all. Yeah, you can pour oil all over it, let it sit for days, weeks, whatever. It'll wipe right up. Gas, same thing. Like I mentioned before, brake fluid is very acidic. It will eat through that top coat. Only one other thing that I'll mention that we have seen is that will stain your surface, is to be careful of, is there's two of them. One is the rust.
Yeah,
rust, thank you. The rust that comes from the irrigation iron, it comes from the irrigation system. That will get on there. Now, if you stay ahead of it and you keep it clean, every few weeks you go out there and just hose it off and just get that off, it's going to be fine. But if it stays on there and it solidifies, it'll start bonding to the surface and become extremely difficult, if not impossible. Yeah. And then the last one is acorns. Acorns off oak trees.
Okay.
They're super acidic, and if they stay on there and they get crushed by a tire, and all that acid just, you didn't know that, did you?
I did not know that.
So we have had that issue. We've used OxyClean and gotten those off.
Okay.
But it's challenging. So, if you have an oak tree over your driveway, great, no problem. Just, as you run over them, if you crush them, keep that swept off and cleaned.
Yeah. So the system is extremely durable. It's easy to maintain, but it will not maintain itself. And so you have to stay on top of it. It doesn't require the effort. You don't have to pressure wash it, but you don't want to just abuse it either. You have to stay on top of it. I mean, you invested all this money, and you want to keep it beautiful. So, okay, I think that's good. I think that's good on the durability. I think that's good on the maintenance. Thank you for those insights. If you have questions about durability or about anything else, concrete coatings, or you'd like to get more information, you'd like for us to come out and look at a project, provide a free quote for you, we ask that you please visit our website, Xano521.com, Xano521. When you get there, you can learn more about our product, our processes. You can see all the jobs that we've done, probably one nearby you, and you can also set up a time for us to come out and look at your project. So make sure you check that out at Xano521.com. Next time, conversation continues. You're not off the hook yet. So next time, we're going to talk about moisture. We're going to talk about moisture that comes from below and moisture that comes from above, also known as rain.
We're
going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. So that is upcoming. So make sure you join us then on the next Xano521 podcast. See you then.